Hey everybody, what's going on? It's me, Ed Carbajal, mixed martial arts analyst for FrontProofMedia.com, and this is the one after UFC 208 and before Bellator 172. I'm having a little trouble making some picks for Bellator 172, so lucky enough I know someone that is just as versed in the history of the sport of mixed martial arts as much as I am, if not more so. You guys might know him as the Hawk, MMA Hawk from the MMA Community.com. Matthew Hawkins jumped on this week to help me take a look at the main event of Bellator 172 this Saturday at the SAP Center in San Jose, California. Fedor Emelianenko versus Matt Mitrione. I'm having trouble making a pick just because of Fedor's recent performances versus Matt Mitrione's recent performances. However, again, this guy, if you haven't seen any of his stuff on the internet, he's really knowledgeable. He's been following the sport just as long as I have, probably has been to more events, and his knowledge is encyclopedic of of the sport in general. So he's going to do the breakdown with me. I recorded this last night, and well, just have a listen. Okay, I'm recording now, Matt. So I'm talking with Matt Hawkins, a friend of mine from the West Coast in California. He's going over to the Bellator event, Bellator 172, this Saturday, with the main event of Fedor Emelianenko versus Matt Mitrione. So thanks for taking the time to talk, Matt.
No problem, Ed. Thanks for having me.
There's a big reason. I mean, we were just talking before I started recording, but so you and I met through the MMA community. We actually ran into each other at the MGM Grand during UFC 200, and we've managed to keep in touch and meet up at UFC 205 in New York. I had a few beers, and I'm having trouble doing a breakdown for the main event of 172. So I thought, who better to talk to than somebody that's like-minded and been watching the sport and following it and has a passion for it like I do. So I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time picking a winner for between Fedor and Matt. What's your take on them two?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's definitely not an easy fight to pick. I'm definitely biased, being I'm a huge Fedor Emelianenko fan. But when I look at the fight, Mitrione's got tremendous size. He's a big guy. He's a legitimate heavyweight. And he might be able to muscle Fedor around. I think that the likelihood of Fedor winning, honestly, is going to be an early knockout or a decision where he's just more active, keeps his hands up more than he has, at least in the Maldonado fight.
Yeah.
And he's shown a lot of activity on his feet. He's shown a lot of high kicks, leg kicks. I mean, he uses kicks great. Even in the Maldonado fight, he came back throwing flying knees and a repertoire. If he manages to avoid the big shot, I think that's more likely how he wins. Mitrione's a tough dude, so I don't know if Fedor finishes him, but I think it's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm glad you brought up the Maldonado fight, because that's what keeps bothering me when I try to make my pick. When I initially contacted you about this, we were just going back and forth of the different ways both guys can win, and I mean, obviously. So, like, I'm trying not to. Did you watch that thing on Spike? They put it on. It was midnight my time last night. The GOAT special, the countdown.
Yeah, I did. I was actually on the video at the end when he goes walking down the ramp.
That's right.
Me taking a picture as he walks out of the background or out of the ramp. So it's pretty cool to check out.
That's right. I mean, people should know that you've probably been to more MMA events than, I mean, definitely more MMA events than, I mean, I do press, and you've definitely been to more events than I have. I mean, you go to a lot of stuff. You're in a perfect spot in California. It's like a hotbed for MMA for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that's how, I've seen a bunch of shows living in Southern California, between Southern California and Las Vegas, over 20 years.
The other thing, why I wanted to talk to you about this fight was because I remember I mentioned it to you when we were drinking at Pensy in the Garden, because you definitely have an encyclopedic type of knowledge for MMA past events when it comes to dates and matchups and wins and stuff like that. And I said to you, we got a guy like that at Front Proof Media. This guy Hector Franco, he's like that with boxing. So you just came to mind when we're just to help me because I have to write the breakdown for it soon. And so talking about my concern, obviously with the Maldonado fight, the controversy, like I thought there was points where it should have been stopped, and Maldonado should have got the win in that fight. And I think Mitrione packs enough wallop, and he's definitely strong enough to kind of deal the same damage if he can avoid an early power shot like you said. But then I asked you about the countdown special because when you watch that, you can't help but think like Fedor's probably gonna drop Mitrione early on too. So that's why I'm kind of torn.
Yeah, Fedor always comes out, at least recently in his last half dozen fights or so, comes out pretty damn aggressive right from the start. If he lands something, then obviously Mitrione's in trouble. My fear with Fedor more is on the ground, honestly. Him attempting a weak takedown and Mitrione getting on top. If you go back and look at fights even from Brett Rogers, Bigfoot, the Maldonado fight, he hasn't protected himself very well on the ground on his back. He's taken some big shots. The Maldonado fight could have been stopped. It would have likely been stopped in the United States.
Yeah.
After that, the fact, the amount of heart and will to come back and fight and really willing to die in the ring, that says a lot about the man in itself. If that's the worst you can say is it should have been stopped, that's not the worst thing when you went out there and laid it out there. But, I don't know. Fedor's getting old, and I'm in the U.S., one of those punches, I'm not sure who's reffing it. I think it's Big John. He's stopping that fight if he sees, Fedor, eyes roll back in his head.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I don't know, man. It's definitely. I know we're talking late in the day, but how excited are you to be there for this? I mean, this is definitely like we tried to get Daniel Zaldivar out there for it, but he's busy. He's tied up with boxing. There's more boxing guys at Front Proof than MMA. It's pretty much just me and one other guy. So again, I'm glad you're taking the time to talk to me. But are you going to the weigh-ins too, or are you just going to the main event?
No, I'm flying up there from San Diego up to San Jose on Saturday morning. Just a quick flight. Actually, a pretty cheap flight. So I'm flying up there just going to go to the fight. I think with it being Valentine's weekend, the hotel prices were, almost triple of what I'm used to seeing
for
previous events up in San Jose. So kind of just made it a quick one-night thing. But, yeah, super excited for the fight. The chance to get to watch Fedor fight. This will be the fifth time I've got to see him fight live. So, he's 4-0 so far. I'm hoping he gets that fifth win. But, the thing with Mitrione is I'm glad that he's a really respectful dude, and he really gets what's going on in this fight. He realizes this is a huge opportunity for him to have a big name on his record, and I like the respect he's shown. He could easily go out there and bash Fedor and call him over the hill and point to a bunch of factors, but the fact he's shown the respect that I think Fedor's due really makes me happy that this is the fight that's taking place. Of all the guys that are available for him to fight at this time.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he didn't know right up until they brought him out the night that you were there and when he walked out. People think that was a setup and he was acting or whatever, but he's been real adamant about the fact that they told him to come out. They said they had an opponent for him, and he really didn't know. He had an idea it was either going to be Fedor or someone else, but the odds of it actually being Fedor, in his mind, were low right up until he showed up. So I think that has a lot to do with it, and it is a big fight for him. And Bellator, people have been knocking Bellator as a number 2 promotion for a while, but it looks like the grass is definitely greener on their side lately.
Yeah, I think Bellator is doing great things right now. They're still number 2. You can't deny the UFC has the talent, has the depth. And they're the number 1 organization right now. But Bellator is doing great things. For the first time, I got my friends who are casual MMA fans texting me, asking me when the next Bellator event's going to be. I bought 8 tickets for this event and was able to sell all 8 of them. For people going with me. I got a big group going up there, and it's fun with that. The Tito fight a couple weeks back. I think I had another group of 8, or maybe even 10 people that ended up going. It's fun when the people are getting back excited about the sport. And it's these legends that are attracting them, but the same people that went there for Tito saw Paul Daly.
Yeah.
And I think that's big. They all got to see a wild knockout, and now that's what they went home telling people about. They saw Tito versus Chael, and then they got to see the craziest knockout they've ever seen in their life, basically.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot you were there for that too, man. I actually watched. I'm going to be watching it while you're in sunny, nice, warm California. I'll be watching it in the same place, cold place I watched it in Brooklyn. Speaking of Brooklyn, did you watch 208 last weekend? I'm sure you did, right?
Yeah, I went to a sports bar and watched it.
I was actually roles reversed. I was actually at 208 while you were at a bar watching it.
There you go.
The energy was the energy was high, but obviously, I don't know if you saw. I was live tweeting. People were walking out as soon as the final bell rang or the horn blew for Durandamy versus Holm. I don't know what's going on. I know New York, the state MMA is new to it, and a lot of people have to learn how to judge and score fights, but I don't think the fact that they accepted the new rules on top of having the sport be new to them is helping their cause any. And that's why we saw stuff like what we saw. Now you got 2 appeals coming in from that fight and from the Brunson and Silva fight to try to have them overturned.
Well, the appeals, in my opinion, are ridiculous. We've obviously the refereeing and some of that stuff is definitely in question. I just can't see the appeals though. To me, the fight happened. Holm, what is she arguing that she lost the fight 3 rounds to 2, but the point should have been taken away?
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of a weak argument. There's no other girls at 145. She's certainly not going to fall far down the ladder. So, go beat somebody. You haven't beaten anybody in 3 fights. Go beat somebody, and then you're surely, for the title, whether it's Cyborg or Durandamy or, Megan Anderson or whoever it ends up being.
Yeah.
But,
Hey, let me ask you, just because of the scoring, I've just recently, because I read I never really score fights. I usually just say, so-and-so won that round or didn't win that round. And as far as giving out actual scores, I know a lot of fans and analysts like to do that. And after because of what I do for Front Proof, I had to read the new rules for MMA. And New York is one of the states that did decide to pick them up, like I said. So I was scoring them, and I actually had it. I did have the score that they came up with, 48-47, but I had it for Holm, not Durandamy. Do you ever bother to try to score fights when you're watching them on your own? Obviously, when you're at a live event, you're into the event, but you ever try to score them on your own?
Yeah, I'm always trying to take a tally of who I thought won the round. The bar atmosphere is different. At your house it's easier, and then even at the event I find it easier than, in a bar atmosphere. But, I had it. I thought Durandamy won the fight. 3 rounds to 2, it could have went either way. It wasn't a great fight by any stretch of the imagination. I just felt like she controlled the fight. And maybe, I don't know, maybe, that wasn't how most people saw it, but I just felt like Holm was the one trying to do takedowns. Holm, she's the the world champion kickboxer, and, she's fighting the Muay Thai fighter, and, she's the one trying to take down. So in my mind, I kind of saw Demandini, controlling the fight. But it was certainly a close fight, and, if a point had been taken away, it would have definitely changed the judging, but I think that judging and refereeing has, not been great on level, for the most part for forever,
Yeah.
Other than the few really good referees, most of them, in my opinion, don't do a great job. And, most people can't remember the last time a point was taken away for anything.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're right. I can't remember. I'm trying to think right now, and I cannot off the top of my head. And I took an Alpha Brain before we started talking, so you're right.
I think I saw a stat, and it was like it had a list of all the fights in UFC history, the number for amount of points taken away, or even draws, because it would create a lot of draws. In 3-round fights, it's going to create a ton of draws if you start taking points away.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of it being basically 2-2, would happen. And there's only been a handful of, very few draws even in the history of UFC. So it just, that, alone shows that there hasn't been a ton of points. And, you guys get away with eye gouging and low blows all day and night.
Yeah, definitely.
It's almost tempting to go for it. I mean, if you're getting your ass kicked in a fight, it's hard not to stay go for something if you almost get a free one. I mean, it sounds terrible, but, that's basically where it seems like it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why they did the new rules that they handed out for most of the states anyway. Oddly enough, New Jersey didn't pick them up. I feel like New York should have been the one, being that the sport is new to them. They should have learned the original unified rules before they went up and changed them within their first year of holding events in the state. But that's another story. That's why I like talking to you, man, because you see, I had Holm winning and you had Durandamy winning, and you make a lot of good points. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that on Saturday, though, with Fedor and Mitrione. If you had to, just say a pick, I mean, I feel like it's weird because, and I got to let people know, when I met you again in New York, you were wearing a Ryzen shirt, so I'm like, I feel like me and you both have Fedor picked just because of how long we've been following the sport and the love we had for Pride Fighting. I don't know. Is that who you're going with?
Yeah, I'm going with Fedor by decision. I think he outlasts Mitrione. He might hit Mitrione with something big early to slow him down. I don't think he'll finish him, but I think Fedor will outlast him and win a decision.
All right. I mean, I think I'm also going Fedor, but I think he can pull off a TKO. Again, though, this is why I should always go with my gut, because my gut's more correct than when I second guess myself, especially in picking MMA. But I mean, I think if he can go for his big KO in the first round or two, but if he doesn't get it, Mitrione could outlast him and could possibly get the judges to favor him. But like you said, Fedor's a tough dude. It's just the age factor, I guess. Maybe because I'm a year older than Fedor. That's why I'm factoring it in myself. But he did have a nice rest. I mean, who knows? I don't know, man. I guess we'll see Saturday night. I'm really jealous that you're going, and I'm not.
It's one of those things. I never thought I'd get a chance to go see him again, and just a chance to go watch him. I mean, it's something you should. It's hard to pass up when it's so close to me. So.
You went to Japan to watch him?
No, I saw him. I saw him in the 2 Affliction shows.
Oh, that's right.
I saw him against Brett Rogers in Chicago, and I saw him at Pride 32 in Las Vegas. The first event they had in Vegas. Yeah, I have all those on DVD. I think I told you that when we last talked. But man, we could talk fights for hours. But since I'm recording this, we're probably going to talk a little bit more when I stop recording this. But
All right. I mean, I think you definitely helped me out with the analysis. I like. Honestly, I think you're the way that you're seeing him is more likely. But man, in the fight game, you really can't make any predictions because anything can happen. I mean, everybody had Alvarez winning when you were here in New York and against McGregor, and look what happened there. So.
Yeah, anything can happen, especially at heavyweight. Either of them can land a big punch. I mean, it could be a 5-second fight. You know.
But that card, I mean, that's the main event. But that card is pretty good. I mean, Ole Thompson's on there, right? And he's fighting. Who's he fighting again?
He's fighting. Thompson's fighting Congo.
Yeah. So I mean. That's a hot card, just the Spike broadcast, and we usually broadcast the prelims on Front Proof Media. But you had mentioned something before when I reached out to you. Isn't there you said there was somebody fighting on the prelims that we should watch? I forgot who.
Well, there's a couple people that are fighting. On the main card, Brooke Mayo is fighting, and she's a California amateur champion, and she's making her debut. She's fighting on the main card. I can't recall who she's fighting, but she's definitely someone to watch. I got a chance to watch her fight live when Chris Cyborg had an event here in Southern California sometime last year. The other one is Gaston Bolanos is making his debut, and he's a Muay Thai fighter. I saw him fight in Lion Fight a few times, and he could be somebody to watch. Could be a really exciting striker.
Yeah, our guy in the guy that helps me with MMA, Eddie Vallejo, that does the Pure Evil MMA podcast. He covers a lot of lion fights, so I'm sure he's familiar with him. But all right, man. So I really appreciate you taking the time to help me do this. I mean, I'm definitely gonna attach this to the preview that I write up, just so people can see both sides of where I got it from. But I really appreciate your help, man. Thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. I'd like to ask any of your listeners to check out the MMA Community.com. Great forum, great talk, great MMA talk. So check that out. And if you get a chance, also check out the legendsofthecage.com. I believe it's just legendsofthecage.com. And at True MMA HOF on Twitter. So check them out, and should be a great weekend of fights, and maybe we can talk after the event.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, and definitely, and just to double up on the MMAcommunity.com. I mean, that's a forum website, and again, that's I forget if that's how I know you through there, right? Because I
was wearing their T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You asked me where I got the shirt at.
Yeah, and when we saw each other at MGM Grand, that's right. Okay, I just trying to remember. I'm like, so I know we talked a lot before we actually went out drinking in New York, but so I got to get out to California, man, so we could do part 2 of that for some fight event. I'm hopefully, I mean, within this, I mean, it's only February, so I got to get out to California. If anything, definitely in Vegas. I'm usually there in July for if the UFC does anything big, so I'm sure you'll try to make it out there too. But I'll talk to you about it.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Good. Thanks a lot. That was Matt Hawkins, people. The MMA Hawk. You can see him over at the MMAcommunity.com. He's really involved over there. He posts a lot of really good threads. It's a community forum. It's not like your typical MMA forum. There's not a lot of bashing, no fighter bashing. People are really cool over there. And actually, that's how I met him, through there. And we met, then you heard him say we met in Vegas and stuff like that. So really great guy. And he actually did help me. Talking to him helped me do my write-up. This will be attached to the write-up over at frontproofmedia.com. And, of course, as always, on the blogboardjungle.com. If you'd like to help out this podcast, please check out the blogboardjungle.com and click on any of the Amazon links when you want to make an Amazon purchase, and you'll get what you need and help this podcast out while you're doing it. So thanks again for listening. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Thank you again, Matt, for coming on. I hope you like the way you sound because I hate my own voice on this thing. All right, man. I'll see you guys around. Take care. Enjoy the weekend.